In this video, we're going to actually use something called idle, which is an integrated development environment that actually comes with Python. Now, this video is for a Mac computer, so if you're using Windows or Linux, make sure you check out the section for Linux and Windows, whatever is appropriate for your operating system, because there's separate videos for you there. So this is, again, Mac specific. Okay, so the first thing we want to do before we actually find out more about what idle is we're going to actually start it. So I'm going to actually make sure I've got my Mac running, and I'm going to press Command and Space. And I'm going to type terminal. Now you can see that I've already typed it. So it's already actually showing as a default for me, but you may get something like that, Spotlight Search, and then start typing. And you basically want to type enough until when you stop typing, you get this little black window. Assuming that's okay, you actually press Enter. And that actually opens the command prompt. And from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type idle 3, IDLE 3. 3 is actually very important to make sure we're actually running the right version of idle. So I'm going to press Enter. I'm going to minimize this window because we don't need that for now. I'm going to just put this in the center of the screen, and I'm just going to size it up so we can actually see it a little bit better. So you can see there now. Now, again, what idle is, well, firstly, it's a homage. The actual name itself is a homage to Eric Idle, who, of course, is one of the members of the comedy group Monty Python, who the author of Python actually really named his product after. So that's why they've actually used the word idle. And what it is, it's a way for you to, it really makes life a lot easier. It allows you to enter, compile, and run programs from a window, essentially. So it's a lot easier. And look, it's a very basic interface, and it's not something that we're going to be using in the course because we're going to be progressing to a much more complex and more powerful program, but it was important to show you the basic code that actually comes with Python. So that's why I'm showing this to you now. So this is idle, as I mentioned, and idle being an IDE, Integrated Development Environment. And we can actually start typing some commands here. So I can go into here and actually type something, for example, like 4 plus 2. You can see the answer comes back in blue is 6. So what is actually happening is this idle program, the name of the program, is talking to the Python interpreter, and Python is then evaluating what you type and generating a result coming back to you based on that. So ordinarily in a program, as you'll see when we start using IntelliJ, you actually need to use the print command to actually return a result. But when you're in idle, you don't need to do that. Whatever you type, the result is instantly given back to you as feedback. Now I'm going to type in some code here, but don't be too worried about understanding this code. You will be learning Python in detail. I'm really just showing you this code now to show you how idle, the integrated development environment, actually works. I'm going to type 4, I in range, then 10, the number 10 in brackets, followed by a colon. Then I'm going to press Enter. Notice how it was automatically indented by the idle program, and that's very important, and you'll be finding out what indenting does a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to type there print, and in brackets I. I'm going to press Enter again. Now notice how the cursor is still on that line. Because we're actually finished, what we want to do is now press Delete to move back to the left-hand corner of the screen, like so. And now if I press Enter again, what should happen is the idle program should send these commands off to Python, and Python should evaluate what we've typed, and we should get a response. So I'm going to press Enter. And you can see we've actually got some output. In this case, we've got 10 numbers that are actually outputted, and that's actually the result of the command we actually typed. So as you'll find later in the course, the colon and indenting code is actually very important, and it's fundamental to how Python is working. But again, it's not something you need to worry about in detail now because you'll be learning that as we go through the course. Where idle isn't very powerful is when it comes to editing your programs. You really need something a little bit more sophisticated. So what we can do is we can actually move the cursor up to a particular line. We can actually press Enter. And notice how it's actually duplicated what we've typed on the screen. And then we can actually press Enter again. We can actually press Delete and then Enter. We can actually run the results again. So it's fairly primitive in how it enables you to actually manipulate code. It's certainly not something you'd be wanting to type a lot of code with. So a better way of doing things is to go to the File menu and come up here to File, click on New File. And notice how that's brought a little window to the screen now. I'm just going to put that a little bit closer so we can see the two windows at once on the screen, centered there. And we can actually now type in some Python commands. So I could type something like print hello world, which is actually a Python command to do just that, to print that output to the screen. And there's various options up here. I can click on run module, or I could have actually pressed F5. So I'm going to click on run module. Source must be saved. Is it okay to save? We're going to click on OK to that. And we're just going to save this. I'm going to save this on my desktop for now. We're going to call it hello world .py, so you can see there when I click on save. And notice down the bottom here, it actually shows us restart, and it shows us the name and the path of the actual program, helloworld.py, which stands for Python, and it actually gave us the output hello world. So as you can see, it's pretty basic, but it does get the job done. But idle is not what we actually recommend you use for this course. In the next video, actually, they're going to give you a way, or show you how to actually download and install IntelliJ IDEA, which is an IDE integrated development environment similar to idle, but much more powerful. So it gives you a lot more features. For example, code checking as you type. IntelliJ will actually check your code literally as you type it, and it will actually flag errors with a marker in the right-hand margin. It also suggests improvements to both the style of your code and the content. And that alone is a fundamental and very important feature that you'd want when you're starting out with a new language. It's got auto-completion, and it works across the various Python libraries. And it really provides rapid selection of the methods and the functions, and even hints on the syntax that you actually need for Python. Now, idle itself only really copes with core functionality. It's got auto-indenting. You can see there was a form of auto-indenting when I actually pressed enter. The print came over there automatically. That doesn't seem to always work in idle, but where it does work, it works well. So check out the next video for more information about IntelliJ, how to download and install that. And it's our firm recommendation that you do that, because there is actually a 90-day trial of the Ultimate Edition of IntelliJ that you can access to actually go through this course. So to finish off, what I'm going to do now is just come back here to idle. I'm going to actually type in something that's very useful to type into the shell, just to let you check the working directory. And this is going to be very useful if you're still using idle when we come back to looking at file IO later in the course. So I'm going to type in import os. I'm going to type os.get cwd, get current working directory. And you can see it gives me the location, in this case, of my desktop, user/dev/desktop. So that's actually idle. I'm going to finish the video here now. In the next video, as I've mentioned a few times, we're going to go ahead and download and install IntelliJ, which again is the sort of far more powerful big brother of the idle integrated development environment. And it's the tool that we recommend you use for this course. So I'll see you in the next video.